Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam, and I just wanted to do a reflection on this 22-day fast. It officially ends by the time this video will be posted, and so I just wanted to reflect on what it was like for me and what I experienced. The number one thing for me about this fast, because remember, this was a fast to of course, mourn the loss of the 2/3, and in conjunction with that, for the Most High to literally guide us through this battle. I'm trying to see where my book is. Oh, let me see if I can find it. I had a good summary. I don't think I wrote it down. I should have. Dang it. Where's that book at? I don't see it. Because the point of the Esther fast, so we did it was an Esther / Judith fast. And the point of the Esther fast was to get strength, to go before basically the king and persuade him to come to our side, to join our conclusion, to believe us, and in this case, it's to really believe that we are mourning the loss of the 2/3. We are prepared for what that looks like. And then the Judith part of the fast is to more or less give us the strength to look in the face of adversity and not be and not back down and not be scared. And no matter what it looked like, no matter how outside of the law, quote unquote, the law that we had to go in order to fulfill the mission, that we actually did that. We fulfilled the mission and saved the people, because that's the whole point. Esther and Judith both, they took on selfless pursuits in ways that were pretty outside of what would have been normally accepted in order to be in position to save their people. And in that case, with those two, beautiful ancestors as our guides, I feel like for me, I've done first of all, this has been the strangest fast, because I will say first I started fasting from sunup to sundown. No, sundown to sunup. Then when the time switched, I switched to fasting or eating from sunup to sundown and fasting from sundown to sunup. And then on some days they were like, no, eat now. I'm like, but I'm not supposed to eat now. They're like, no, just go ahead and eat. I'm like, okay. And it turned out I needed the energy to do something else or whatever. It was just it was more so being led and guided to do different things, and not being so caught up on this was the criteria I set. This is what I wanted to do. It's more so like, okay, well, yeah, that's what you want to do, but now we want you to do this. Okay, now we want you to do this. Okay, now you need to do this. Go ahead, spend your money like this. Get this candle. Do this. Do that. Put this together. Make this video. Don't make that video. A lot of following the instructions. Another thing that happened for me is that my dreams got extremely vivid. At first, my dreams were like really, really strong. Now they're different. They're more like that. I shared a video yesterday from Harger. He talks a lot about the Nordic tradition, and he called it more like dream walking, almost like going into the dream state. And it was crazy because I watched a video that I shared, and he had said in the video that you will know the difference between a regular dream and a spiritual kind of dream encounter because of the smell. Because in a regular dream, your brain and the smell, it don't line up. But when you're just like spirit walking, I guess is the best way to describe it, then you will remember the smell. And it was crazy because I had a dream that morning before I watched that video. And it was weird because I could smell everybody's perfume. And I was like, this is very odd. Why can I smell everyone's perfume? What is up with that? You know what I mean? And as it turned out, that was one of the things. Like, you will be able to smell like a lot of different stuff. And I could. And so that just, that just makes me think that the next level or the next stage of this encounter that we're having with the Most High and the spirit realm and the mother and how they work is going to be more spiritual in nature, meaning it's not going to happen as much in our waking state as we're going to be dealing with stuff in our dream state. Because for a few days I didn't have any dreams, and then when I started having dreams again, it was like, whoa, this thing is off the charts, like totally off the charts. And so I just say that to say I want people to be prepared to follow the lead of the Most High and not in our spirit team and our saints, because we don't really know what is going on. There's not even a big battle. There's a big reorganizing happening right now. There's a big switch. The switch is here. And because the switch is here, we have to be moved into place. And so if you're too rigid with the way that you handle things, you're not going to be able to be moved into place. And so for this fast, like I said, it was just very, very unusual. And I do feel like the one thing that I was told, which I was like, I was very, very apprehensive because I was told that there was 2 professional victims unit, and that one of them was over there in that country in the sand, and that the other one was here in this country. And I was very concerned about that because I didn't know who this was. I didn't know how we're going to identify these people. I said, how can we fight an enemy we don't even know? And so before this fast was over, I was given a name. I shared it. And these people, our people, the Aboriginal people, called them Sixapequins. Wait, there was a name too for the women. The men were called Sixapequins. The women were called Sik-Sapiaki. Sik-Sapiaki. And so these people, the Sixapequin and the Sik-Sapiaki, these people are people who appeared to the Aboriginals in groups of white people. So there would be one black man. The man is a Sixapequin. The woman is the Sik-Sapiaki. They basically called them black white men, meaning these were black men, like they regarded as in if you had one white albino buffalo in the mix of a bunch of black, regular colored buffalo, this is how they referred to them. Like they were just the one black dot that was in the midst of a bunch of, otherwise similar group of people. And so they had a term for the men and for the women. And so those are the ones who, like I suggested with Tammany, if Tammany was a real person, they came in amongst these white people, took on because they were the same color, they took on the name, an Aboriginal name, right? Or sounding name, and then they proceeded to sell us out. They're Aboriginals, and I'm sure that this goes for Aboriginals all over the planet, not just here, but all over the planet. And so that is the enemy. And so to me, that enemy was identified, and also along with those persons in general who consider themselves Native Americans, along with the race warriors coming up from below the border. These are the true enemies of the Aboriginal, because if you go back and look at, and this is all the information I just kind of put together over these 22 days, if you go back and look at the 5 civilized tribes, their consent decree or their peace decree, they were still carrying a quote unquote Negro slaves. That's the reason why they had to, after the Civil War, have a separate decree, because they wouldn't give up their slaves. This is another group of people who were carrying us, talking about we were freedmen, but carrying us as slaves. And then when the war was over, they were like, no, we're not giving up our slaves. They got an exemption. And then they had to, the quote unquote civilized tribes, they were civilized because they were the ones that were doing what the other people were doing. They were doing the same thing that the slave states were doing. They were doing the same thing that the colonizers was doing. So how can you expect for me, as an Aboriginal person, to forget that there was a group of people who looked like these Native Americans and these race warriors that held our people as slaves, and they got a special deal in order to remove and release our people from slavery? You mean to tell me they captured our people and kept them slaves and had no intention of letting them go? They had to get a special deal with the United States government in order to let us go. And in their deal, they got land. They didn't do it for nothing. Now, mind you, these are people who didn't even own the land. A lot of these people, not all of them, a lot of these people in these quote unquote Native American tribes, they didn't own the land. They were signing away land they didn't own, and the government assigned it back to them, but they didn't own it. Americans didn't own it either, because they had people like Tammany sign away the land to the business owners via the land patents, which the land patents came from Britain. And Britain didn't own America. They didn't own the land. They didn't own the land. So you literally have a person who doesn't own the land claiming to own the land, coming here and getting a person that they set up, saying that they are the representative of the people who own the land, and then having those people actually sign away the land and the people on the land. And then not only do they sign away the land and the people on the land, the way our people were is that we kept peace at all costs. We went along with it because we didn't want to have our young men going into war with these colonists. So they used our own customs against us. Our own peace that we were determined to have during our 1,000 years of peace that was promised to us in the book. During our 1,000 years of peace, they literally came and ended our 1,000 years of peace by forcing us to go along, by using our customs and our laws against us. This is why you have to know what your customs are. The customs and the laws are not in the Bible. They're in a book that many of you all say is evil, which is the Talmud, specifically in the Mishnah. Mishnahs. Yeah, Mishnahs. Mishnas. Let me make sure I spelled that right. Mishnah. 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 Y'all need to go and download that book. It's got your customs in there. It's got your history in there. Anything you want to know about how our people operated is in that book. And so they acted like what we do is completely backwards when it's in the book. The way we we conduct ourselves as in this book, they're the ones who are out of order. They're taking our laws because y'all don't believe you need laws. I had an individual tell me this. I still can't wrap my mind around it. We don't need rules. We don't need laws. I just go with whatever is coming. Y'all sound like colonizers. We have rules. We have customs. We have ways that we operate. They're in the Mishnah. It's a huge book. Anything you want to know about how we handle anything is in that book. And so you can't understand the Bible because you don't understand our culture. Our culture is in the Talmud. Now, you have people, as I mentioned in a post on Twitter, you have people who follow the Talmud without being people who are supposed to follow the Talmud. They're called Talmudists. And those people are not the same people as the ones the Talmud was written for. The Talmud was not written for the colonizer. The Talmud was not written for the sons of Lot. The Talmud was our book, written for our people, so that we could preserve our culture. That's where our culture is. That's where it's all in the book. Everything about the way we would have operated is in that book. And so, but if you want to know, like I was reading from the other book, the rights of the Iroquois book of rights, it's the same thing that's in the Mishnah. It's just shorter. It's just less. You know why? Because if they put everything in there that our people actually did in that book of rights, people would go back to the Mishnah and they say, wait a minute, what they do is here in this book. So how do you, I thought we just discovered them. You know, that's the Columbus thing. We just discovered them. So how do they have rules that are in the Mishnah? They couldn't even explain, or they pretended like they couldn't explain why all of our rights and rules followed after the Jews. Everything that we did is the same stuff that they do. When they came to this land, it's literally in there. They couldn't understand it. So they gave their own interpretations of it, especially our holidays, like Thanksgiving. As I mentioned in a previous video, I may as well mention it here. Every year we celebrated the passing over of our ancestors. Now, how do Negroes celebrate? We have parties. We do dinners. We get the family together. We laugh and joke and remember. Sounds a lot like Thanksgiving. But a lot of people have the Hebrew mind virus, in which they think we're only Hebrew, and so we have no of our Aboriginal traits left. But however, it's clearly in the Iroquois Book of Rights that we literally always celebrated the dead. We did it once a year. Then every 12 years, we had a big whole thing where they reburied the bodies. Matter of fact, I mean, I did talk about this in the video. I'm not going to go into that. But the point of the matter is, we always honored our dead. Frequently. It wasn't just once a year at Thanksgiving. It was throughout the year. Like, oh, a Mother's Day, a Father's Day, Easter, Labor Day, May Day. Oh my gosh. That's throughout the year, isn't it? It's almost like someone took all of our holidays, retitled them or relabeled them, changed the meaning of the days, but kept the days. And then indoctrinated us to believe that the days were evil because they were associated with other people, so that you would, instead of honoring your ancestors on all these days already pre-set up for you throughout the year, you would curse your ancestors and say, I'm not celebrating this, I'm not celebrating that, that belongs to that person. Meanwhile, the whole time, it was your stuff. This time last year, I was saying the same thing. I really hope and pray for a year where I won't, at the end of the year, find out exactly what I said was true and what I was trying to express to people was accurate. And so if you are Hebrew, be Hebrew. But understand that you might also be Aboriginal. I also understand that everybody did not come from this country. That's fine too. You do what makes sense to you. But I would suggest not cursing your ancestors. These are the ones who is coming to help you. And if you continue to curse them by saying, oh, I only celebrate this, I only do this, I only do that, and you don't even think about how the other days might have been set up for you to maintain contact with your ancestors, this is why I call it the Hebrew mind virus, because it separated you, the Aboriginal, from your Aboriginal ancestors from this country. And believe me, if we did it here, we were doing it all over the world. This is the hub. America is the hub, and English is the main language. If you understand what's going on here in America, you could take this and do it anywhere. They just have slightly different traditions that they add in, but the main way, the main core of the holidays is here. If you go in other countries, they have the same kind of holidays, maybe on a slightly different schedule based on their growing season. This is a harvest season here in America. In other countries, the harvest season is earlier. In other countries, it's later. They move things around. Of course you would honor your ancestors at harvest season. If you want to have a good harvest season for the next year, that's what you would do. But too many people have just accepted the things they've been told without trying to integrate. The key here is that we have to integrate knowledge. It wasn't that in my fast I had to stick to every single rule I set for myself. No, it was that I had to integrate the new stuff that was coming in and figure out how it fit into my life. And so when the times change, instead of me saying, no, well, I said I was going to do this. No, let me integrate this time change in. Well, now if the sun is up when I leave the house and the sun is up when I come back, let me just eat while the sun is up. That made sense. Instead, I could have been like, no, I'm going to push through with this thing that I set up. It didn't make sense. I had to integrate the seasons, the seasonal changes into my schedule. I had to integrate that stuff in. Plus, I started fasting a whole week before everyone else did. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. And that week I was really strict, and then the other 22 days I wasn't as strict because I was so strict the first week. That's what I was told to do. I just did it the way that it made sense for me and for my life. And that's how we all have to do. You take these things that people give you, and instead of throwing away what you knew, who you were in the past, you got to integrate that information in. You got to harmonize it. This is what I heard someone say. You have to harmonize the new information and the old information. Not forget it, not replace it. Again, that's why I don't like the term download, because download implies that we're blank slates. We're not blank. We are uploading information. We're taking the information, integrating it into our system. We are not downloading information and, leaving it to be whatever it is. That makes no sense. That honestly makes no sense. And until people accept that this is how it works, these next 30 years are going to be really hard for you. But if you can understand these type of concepts and continue to do this soul searching and this fasting and other things that are required to prepare your heart for this integration, then you're going to do it in 3 years. But if you fight back against this, again, the whole thing about integration is that you can't fight back the new information. You can't fight against it. You can't say, well, I never knew that. No one ever told me that. You can say, okay, oh, is that the case? Okay, let me just add that into my Rolodex. Okay. I mean, some people my age and younger don't know what a Rolodex is. I'm sorry. Add that into my my phone numbers. Okay. Let me add that into my phone. Let me add that to my notes, my search history, right? You just add in the information. You're not removing, okay, replace. No. You're integrating it. You're putting it together. And that's what I learned in this fast. I learned how to integrate. I was forced into learning how to integrate, but I learned how to integrate new information, new ideas, new ways of getting information, new ways of processing the information I was getting, really slowing down and listening to my body and how it felt. I spent a lot of time resting, way more time than normal. I spent a lot more time focused on what was important to me, looking at my kids and figuring out, what my next step should be, what my life should look like. It was a lot of self-reflection, because once the enemy and the threat is removed in the story of Esther, what happened? Haman and his whole family, not just Haman and his whole family was removed, okay? With the gallows that they had built for Mordecai and his whole family, okay? So the gallows that these people have built for us through these contracts and this whatever it is they've done, the black magic that they set for us, these contracts and stuff that they set for us, are the contracts that's going to be used to break them down. And it's the same thing with Judith. The sword that I can't remember the guy's name, but the sword that the man carried is the one that she used to chop his head off. So the sword that they're carrying, as if it's some great sword, they're going to be put into a drunken stupor, and you are going to have to step up and get to chopping. This just goes to another point that I'm going to make to everyone again. I have been making, but now I'm 100% sure. You are not going to transition into the new world without doing some paperwork. There's no way to get your inheritance, to claim yourself back, without doing some paperwork. I have looked at this every single way. Come on now. I have looked at this every single way possible. I have looked for all kinds of ways to get out of this, to be able to make it as simple as possible as I can for people. And I am convinced everyone's going to have to do paperwork. And you're pretty much going to have to do it yourself. We do have the system set up to help people and all of that. But even before you can get to the part where you can remove your title from the government, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done in regards to your accounts that have to be sorted out. And there's a solution for every problem. It's just that it's work. There's no getting around it. Now, I've also, tried to find a way that people can some things that people can do so that they can actually make money and have time to do this work that's going to have to be done. However, first I need people to understand that they're going to have to do work. There's no magic wand. No one's going to give you reparations. Even if they did give you reparations, to be honest, you wouldn't want to take it, because go and read that contract with the 5 civilized tribes. I think it's called the peace treaty or something like that, with the 5 civilized tribes. You just search, if you just Google 5 civilized tribes, the peace agreement or something like that, it'll come up. They had to give up everything. They were forced to come under the jurisdiction of the government in exchange for accepting that treaty. And the problem with accepting any terms of a treaty like that is that means that you will not be able to execute your trust. And I did a video a long time ago called The Express Trust of the Most High, where I talked about this. If you are not the one who's executing it, if you're not the trustee, then and the beneficiary and the co-heir, if you're not the trustee and the co-heir, you can forget about it. You got to be the trustee and the heir, the trustee and the beneficiary. We aren't the grantor. The grantor is the Most High, but you've got to be the trustee and the beneficiary. You just can't be all three in an irrevocable trust. So the people who sign these contracts and do these deals, they are forfeiting their inheritance if they are entitled to inheritance. Everyone's not entitled to inheritance, to be an inheritor, to be honest. Especially if you haven't done any spiritual work, you're not entitled. But a lot of people are entitled. More people than we think. And so I'm working on a solution for that. That will take some part of it out, that it's not going to be so difficult. But there's still a lot of work that we're going to have to do individually. That means, like in my case, I'm going to have to get my son in daycare. I'm going to have to get like office space set up so that I can sit down and work on this stuff and keep files and all of that. It's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff that you're going to have to do for yourself and for your family if you guys want to have actual control over you as an individual. Because if I told you that not only is your birth certificate for a dead person, it literally actually is a certificate of title, meaning they own you. And I was like, there's no way I can explain this. But that's what it is. It's like buying a car. Like, just like they describe how it was to go and buy our people. Like in DC, there's this whole thing about Foggy Bottom, and that's where the slaves were sold. That's the same thing. That's why they want you to give birth in a hospital. Because they could take inventory of their property. They can bag and tag their property. They got the name of their property. They don't even have to give the property a name. You do the work of giving them the name, so you tell them everything they need to know. And then of course, if you're in a state which requires jabs, then hey, they get their property inoculated the way that they want before you even leave the hospital. And along the way, they traumatize you, separate you from your child, make you feel like, you're not even worthy of being a parent, send people into crippling postpartum. Some people never get over their postpartum. But they got their property bagged and tagged. They got blood sample. You don't know what they do with any of this stuff. The placenta, they take endless blood samples, all kinds of stuff. You never get any of that information. You don't get any. You get nothing. Why? Because they own you. Don't you know that? That's what a title is. And a title is your birth certificate. They also own your death, because death certificate is also a title. It's when they take it out of commission. That's a death certificate. Oh, this is the proof that we took it out of commission. Oh, you mean someone died? No. We took it out of commission. Which is why, anyway, I won't go into that. That's keep my mouth shut. But anyway, sorry, that was kind of a tangent. But so yeah, there's going to be paperwork required. Everyone's going to have to work. It's not going to be easy. This is again, we have the opportunity to get this done in about 3 years and really be set up and rolling. For some people, it's going to take them 30 years. Lord have mercy on them, because that's a long time for something that can be done in 3 years. The clock has already started ticking. If you're not on the train, you can still get on. It's no problem. But you just have to, in your mind, first understand that it's going to take some work. There's no way possible you can get out of paperwork. I'm sorry. I hate to be the one to tell you. They got to get permission even in the celestial realms. They can't do stuff without getting permission. That's the whole purpose of the Theotokos, being the intercessor. She processes the paperwork. She's like, okay, bring me their problem. Okay. All right. Let me take it to the Most High to get approval. That's what an intercessor is. And so for people thinking that there's not going to be any paperwork, you got a whole office called the Theotokos, who is the intercessor between man and God. God the Mother, God the Father are one. So I think the last thing that I really got from this fast, and then this has been long, but I do want to get all this stuff out. I did make this sigil that I shared. I'm gonna do a video about this specifically, but I wanted y'all to see it. That symbol is very important. It's actually a location. And I believe that it's just a map on how we get back to the Father. And I'm going to do a whole video just on the sigil. But I wanted to first just introduce it. That was the major piece of technology that came through on this particular fast. I find that I think on the last fast I got another piece of technology. These pendulums right here with all the stuff in them that came through. So I just want to remember to document that piece of technology, that sigil came through, and it's not exactly the way that. Anyway, I added my own stuff to it because that's what I always do. I take stuff and I modify it. And it is on my community page, and I'll post it again. And right now, when I hand it to someone, I tell them I don't know what it's for exactly, but I know that I believe that it's like a tracking device for the spiritually enlightened people. At least I can. Not me, but our spirit team can tap into our energy if we need help, something like that. It's just, to me, it feels like the type of device that helps pull your spirit team closer to you, mark you as one of the enlightened ones, or of course, if you are a wicked one and you use it, it's really going to actually hurt you. So I don't suggest that, because you're putting it. It's just like, if you're a wicked person and you're carrying a crystal, you're literally carrying a tracking device. That is just going to make it that much easier for the hellhounds or whoever to track you and to drag you back where you belong. So I'll post it again for people so they can see it or whatever. And I definitely feel like we are going in the right direction. I hope other people have found that this fast has been helpful to them. I also feel like this type of thing that we're doing, even if it's just me, it doesn't matter. We're really helping to move humanity along, raise the vibration by removing the individuals who don't have a right to be here. So, of course, the next major event is going to be our cross-quarter holiday fast for Imbolc. That's on February the 1st, Groundhog Day, which is so crazy. I can't even explain. Of course, that's the one that goes from Groundhog Day until spring equinox, or it's actually the spring equilux. No, it's the equinox, spring equinox, and it's really the winter of the summer. The summer lux, which the summer is the equal light, just like equal light and dark, and The spring is the equinox. Spring and fall equinox. I don't know, something like that. I always get them backwards. Anyway, for winter solstice, I don't have anything, I haven't been given anything specific yet. I do know that that's at basically around the same time as the full moon, so we will have our full moon thing that our new moon, our full moon thing that we do. But I haven't been given anything really specific for that, and that's not unusual because it was the same thing for the summer solstice. I didn't get anything specific to do for that. I guess my focus is on the cross quarter holidays. Yeah, because then Lud and with all the consonants, that's the one that starts on August the 1st. So that's more so like I guess I focus in on cross quarter holidays. Because I was looking for the holidays of the mother, and I think that's just what's important. I point that out because the Orthodox are actually fasting right now. They just started this week, and so they'll be fasting, I think, through Nativity. And so that's me. That just says, to me, that shows, honestly, some people are on track, and some people are not quite on the same track. And I also believe that colonizers, if you are a part of the group that is responsible for the deaths and murders of a lot of people, you probably shouldn't be celebrating our holidays. And so that also tells me that there's a certain group of people who shouldn't be celebrating our holidays. And that's built in to their calendar. And that's really interesting. I don't want to get into that too much right now. But that's really interesting. So I think that's enough of me rambling. So shalom, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys had a successful fast. Of course, fast anytime you want. Whatever makes you feel good. And, just do it with a purpose, right? And so shalom, and we'll see you in the next video.